Good day. I'm Dr. Angelo Juan Ramos, and for this series of video lectures, I'll be presenting on doing a knowledge audit. So we will have two videos for this lesson, and I'll be guiding you through the 6 steps of doing a knowledge audit, and I'll also be providing some specific examples for CECs.
Alright, so let's start with our discussion on the knowledge audit. So this is activity 3.1. So just some definitions. What is knowledge audit? You can look at it as an investigation into the health of your CEC or organization's knowledge management. A knowledge audit can also reveal your community or the people in your community's level of knowledge and their knowledge management needs. It also reveals the different strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and even risks in your knowledge management for your community. A knowledge audit also provides a way to assess where your organization needs to focus its knowledge management efforts, and this assessment is evidence-based, so it can be quite scientific, it can be quite research-based when you do a knowledge audit. So you would want to answer the following questions if you are about to do a knowledge audit of your community, okay, and also of your organization, of your community center. So you can ask questions like, what does your community center need in terms of knowledge? What are the available knowledge assets or resources in your CEC and your community? And where are these knowledge? Where can you find these assets or resources? Other gaps that exist in the knowledge in your community. How does knowledge flow within your organization, within your CEC? And also the flow of knowledge between you and your clientele and you and the people in your community. What are the blockages to this flow? And to what extent do your constituents and the processes and technology currently support or hamper the effective knowledge management in your community? So let's look at the steps in doing a knowledge audit. So these 6 steps are actually found in your module, but we'll look at this more in depth, and I'd also like to provide you with some examples. Right, so the first step in doing a knowledge audit is to determine or to set the goals or objectives of your CEC. So you will do this if, for example, you still do not have your vision, mission, goals, or objectives. So if you already have these, you can just review them. If not, you would need to undergo a process in your community, in your CEC, wherein you need to determine your goals and objectives. And obviously all of this can answer this question that you need to ask. What does your CEC actually want to achieve? Right? So let's look at a specific example. So I've written down some vision and goal statements. So for example, let's have this hypothetical municipality called Kagandahan. And the vision of the CEC is to have an ICT literate and knowledge-led citizenry in the municipality of Kagandahan. And attached to this is a goal, which is to conduct ICT literacy courses to at least 80% of the eligible population in the municipality by the year 2015. So you have a vision and a goal. So if we have these, we can start doing a knowledge audit. Okay. So the second step is to select an objective that involves a knowledge opportunity or a problem. So you can use this objective to set your KM goal or goals. So ask yourself, what should your KM or knowledge management achieve to help realize this objective? So we've seen the vision and the goal, and you could also look at the goals as the objective, which is, if you recall, to provide ICT literacy courses to 80% of the eligible population in a span of 5 years by 2015. So, if you look more in depth as an example to the goal that we have identified, you can make a study on the level or type of ICT literacy. So what is the level of ICT literacy today in your municipality, and where do you want it to be? So we have the goal, which is 80% in 5 years, but where is the level now, and where are the learning gaps in your in the people in your community? So again, we already have set a target, but you need to come up with a profile of the existing learning gaps, and what will be the technologies that your CEC can use in order to improve ICT literacy. Now, going to step 3. So here we will formulate what you call the dream ticket, which describes the best that your CEC can become. So in doing this, you need to ask yourself, what are the ideal conditions or the best case scenarios that are required for your KM goal to be achieved? So in order to achieve ICT literacy, so these are the best case scenarios that your CEC should have full facilities so that your learners can practice and use technologies. Your CECs should have the latest relevant appropriate technologies that the community and the CEC can use. There should also be the presence of good learning environment support in terms of motivated trainers, some sort of peer mentoring, great set of facilitators or teachers, as well as a good set of learning materials. And there should also be a variety of methodologies in learning ICTs, and that these methodologies should be tailor-fit to the different learning styles of preferences of various people in your community, like the elderly, the youth, women, entrepreneurs, etc. So these are the 4 dream tickets as an example. So looking at these dream tickets, we come up with step 4, which is to identify knowledge-related tasks that you need to realize the dream ticket or tickets, and what are the knowledge assets that are critical in order to achieve these dream tickets. So ask yourself, what tasks should be done, and what knowledge assets are really or critically needed for each of these tasks. So you can come up with a table like this. So you have a column on tasks and a column on assets. So for example, in achieving our objective, I've placed here 3 tasks as an example. The first one would be to define and agree on the type or level of ICT literacy. So what do you exactly mean by ICT literacy? Okay, in the example, does it mean being aware and skilled at using the internet? Does it mean that the person knows how to do word processing, or does this mean that person knows how to do social networking like Facebook? So what are the assets that you need to do these definitions? Perhaps you would need internet connection. Perhaps you would need to set up a team that would assess ICT literacy in your community. And even motivation or willingness to learn can be an asset in this case. So the second task would be to assess the profile of your CEC users and learners. So you can make use of demographic data. Maybe you need to hire or train a set of interviewers so that they can interview people and get a sense of what their learning needs are. And you also need to come up with data instruments like questionnaires or focus group discussion guide questions. So the third task would be then to define and develop the resources that you need actually to achieve ICT literacy in your CEC. So obviously for that you would need assets like hardware, software, connectivity, your staff, as human resources, other infrastructure like printers or perhaps LCD projectors, and obviously you would need electricity. So in the 5th step, we will do an actual knowledge audit. You will do this to find out how well you can do the critical knowledge that you have identified. So in order to do this, you need to select information sources and data gathering methods, and you also need to prepare the tools that you will need to gather this information. So you will ask several things. Which of the critical knowledge do you already have? What data, what information do you already have? In what nature or form are they available? In what amount and quality? What is the content of the knowledge? So recall tacit versus explicit knowledge. And where can you find this critical knowledge? Okay. Is it found in an office in your municipality, in an agency? Is it found in another municipality, or in the provincial capital, or in a national agency? When and where and when are they used? And finally, how can you transfer this knowledge or information from the source to you as a user? Okay. So some examples. So in gathering information, for example, in determining, let's say you'd like to determine a definition of ICT literacy. Okay. So perhaps you can just check some national agencies like CICT or the National Computer Center or other agencies. Do they already have a set of defined ICT competency standards? Okay. And also in looking at and identifying the learners, you might need to look for data on the profile of your community. Who are your CEC users, learners at your municipality? You might need to look for data that are segregated according to sex, age groups, employment, education attainment, etc. And you would need to know where you need to look for this and who are the people that you would contact to get this information. You then assess the level of ICT literacy of CEC staff, municipal workers, and community. So these are where tools will come in, your assessment tools. You might need to develop questionnaires. You might need to do some practical tests for your staff, or maybe even get stories out of them. So the last step, the sixth step, is to do a gap analysis. So is there a gap between critical knowledge and the knowledge that you really need in order to achieve your KM goal, and the level of knowledge that is already available to you? So the question is, which critical knowledge do I still need to acquire and maintain? This refers to information that you still do not have or need to get. So you can do, as an example, you can do primary data collection, collecting the data yourself through interviews, questionnaires, surveys, focus group discussion, developing assessment and evaluation tools, and collecting stories. You can do secondary data collection, which is getting data that has already been produced from other sources. So for example, you can get data from census in your municipality. You can also do research from other sources like schools, libraries, or even the internet. And of course, finally, once you've done with all this, you need to write up a KA report. So the format for this is also found in your written module. So these are the 6 steps, and I provided an example. So in the next video, I'll be showing you another set of examples so we can further understand doing a knowledge audit. Thank you.